Hey everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and we are back again today on this beautiful Monday to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds Ring of Fire by David Mack. I actually finished this book up on Friday night, but then over the weekend I was beamed away to the Enterprise, so of course did not have a chance to sit down and talk about it. Uh, didn't take very good notes, I'll be honest with you. During the reading of this book, there was just a lot of extra stuff going on, so I couldn't make the notes as great as I wanted them to be, but, all in all, I think I did a decent job. I kind of hit some of the points here that I'd like to talk about at least, but David Mack just, I think, does a great job here, I'll say that first off, of kind of giving everyone a little bit of something to do in this book, which I like, so I guess let's jump right into it here. First off, here is a nice look at the cover, featuring Pike, Una, Spock, Nurse Chapel, and La'an there. La'an, I suppose. New York Times best-selling author David Mack. So, the back here just has an excerpt from the book, which I will read in dramatic fashion here for you. Outside the viewports, all was chaos. The shuttlecraft randomly tumbled and spun. The thunderous roars filled the main compartment as the tiny vessel's armored hull skipped across the surface of the accretion disk. Space and stars rolled in and out of view, trading places with the black holes on Holy Ring of Fire, all as Spock, Chin Riley, and the rest of the landing party held on to their seats' safety harnesses. The first officer shouted over the din of the system alarms and screeching engines, "Spock, what the hell's happening? The tractor beam appears to have malfunctioned. Or been sabotaged. Either way," Spock hollered. Anyway, Spock hollered over the noise. "It has thrown us off course and into a volatile region of the accretion disk." I think that's how you holler something. He fired the navigational thrusters in tandem with the impulse drive, but the shuttlecraft's wild tumble roll through the eruptions of superheated plasma continued. "Helm control is gone." Chin Riley keyed commands into her console, only to find it as unresponsive as the helm. "Shields failing. Spock, can you still get us to the station?" "Negative. Thrusters offline." Chin Riley routed the shuttlecraft's auxiliary power to the transmitter. "Enterprise, this is Kepler. We've lost control and are tumbling into the accretion disk. Mayday, I say again. Mayday, mayday, mayday." Whoa, trouble on the shuttlecraft there, right? So you can see you're getting into a bit of action. So let's see what else they've got on the inside here. Now, let's learn a little bit about the book. And of course, I have not read this yet, and if you don't want to be spoiled, don't listen to me as I read it. A new adventure based on the thrilling Paramount Plus TV series Star Trek Strange New Worlds. When murder and sabotage imperil the time-sensitive and top-secret mission of a team of civilian scientists, Starfleet deploys Captain Christopher Pike and the Enterprise crew to Cathara Station, a classified research facility located above the accretion disk of a black hole. Whoa! Lieutenant Commander Una Chin Riley soon discovers the station's director, Volkea, is hiding secrets. But so is Captain Pike, who many years earlier visited this same black hole on a mission that went tragically wrong, and whose consequences have haunted him ever since. Caught in the crossfire of the station are the science officer Spock, Nurse Christine Chapel, and Security Chief Lan Noonien Singh, whose romantic entanglement, old and new, threatens to unravel their bonds of friendship. As enemies converge upon the station, can Volkea and Pike both atone for the mistakes of their past to avert a tragedy? With time running out, the survival of Cathara Station, the Starship Enterprise, and dozens of innocent lives hinges on the acts of contrition. David Mack is the multi-award-winning and New York Times best-selling author of 38 novels of science fiction, fantasy, and adventure, including the Star Trek Destiny and Cold Equations trilogies. His extensive writing credits include episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and he worked as a consultant on Season 1 of the animated series Star Trek Prodigy. honored in 2022 as a Grand Master by the International Association of Media Tie-In Writers. Mack resides in New York City. New York City! That's right. So, David Mack is an excellent Star Trek writer, an excellent writer all in all. He's contributed to a bunch of stuff that I have enjoyed, especially just even here lately. I read the Wildfire book, the SCE Wildfire book right before this, and that was excellent. They mentioned the Destiny trilogy in that write-up, and that is I don't know, that may be like one of the best trilogies that I've read in all of Star Trek. I'd have to think about it, but really definitely up there. And he's also, like, he contributed to Prodigy, but then also contributed to the new Khan audio series, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then the finale of that was today. So he's out there, he's doing big things for Star Trek, and of course is basically the latest author to put out a book for the Star Trek franchise. You know, we used to get quite a few all the time. You know, we get like, I guess I don't really remember what the average was, but, you know, more than just 2 to 3 a year, which is kind of where we're at right now. But, you know, I guess that's okay because the backlog is so big. It's okay if they don't come out so fast, right? So anyway, here is the book in its, you know, naked form, I suppose. A fine purple book, you know. Maybe they could have done something extra, two-tone on the color, but no, just straight purple. But it looks good to me. So I guess initial thoughts on the book. I mean, they do lay it out on the cover. These are the characters, so you're not going to be getting much of, well, you know, they do lay out these 5, and those are the main 5, but Ortegas also gets herself a very interesting and good part in the book that I enjoyed. But other than that, it is more of a focus on those characters and this kind of ongoing mystery that's unraveling on this station that they've been sent to help, right? So, the kind of action is split up between the Enterprise and the station, and they have a team on the station of Una, Nurse Chapel, Spock, and La'an. Right, and they're the ones kind of over there doing the investigating, while Pike is on the Enterprise, with Ortegas as acting number 1, taking care of things on that end, right? And as the book mentioned as well, Pike is coming into this with a bit of kind of like a tragic story, right? When he was, I think maybe just a younger officer, and he was in command of a ship at that time. He was, I think, just on command duty. He was trying to capture an escaping ship, and in his, you know, zest and zeal to capture it, would not let go of the tractor beam and lost the ship. The ship exploded. And then this also kind of reminded him also of an experience he had when he was a child, when he lost a horse in kind of the same fashion, just by kind of driving the horse too hard, right? So he's kind of coming into it with this backstory and this, you know, he wants to kind of right that wrong somehow, right? He's always had that kind of hanging on his shoulders. So now the other characters they introduce are basically the civilian scientists aboard the ship, and they are led up by Volkea. And, you know, she kind of starts out a little abrasive, right? And not wanting to kind of give too much information or anything like that about what's going on. Just giving them kind of the bare bones facts to get what they need to get done, which is to stop the saboteur, but not giving up any of her secrets about what's really going on at this station. So as the book progresses, you get more and more information. You kind of get let in on what the station is all about, kind of one little piece at a time, and then the mystery of who and why, you know, what the sabotage is going on, kind of deepens as well too, and it becomes more than just the initial thing that you think. So you have a lot of different lines that are being, you know, followed here. This is taking place between seasons 2 and 3, so he's kind of following up on the relationship that Spock and La'an are developing, and it's not like a huge part of the book, but they do kind of touch upon that like a little bit. There is a fun little sequence that they have with Scotty and Pelia, which kind of pops up throughout the book, where she's making him eat these spicy peppers, right? It's kind of like this test of endurance. And so that kind of makes for a fun little comedic thing. But again, the bulk of the story focuses on what's going on the station, and really what drives that a lot is La'an and her kind of relentless drive to solve the mystery, find the saboteur, find the murderer. There's also been a murder on the station as well. The kind of like the second chief scientist, Sven, has been killed. And then you go to find out that he and Volkea had a relationship. So again, you have all these characters trying to dig deeper, trying to find out what's happening. And I have decided in this video I'm not going to give the full and complete story. And basically for a couple of reasons. First off, I finished it a few days ago. So it's out of my mind. And then when I was beamed to the Enterprise, it kind of put me into a little bit of a time distortion. So I think I would not do a full retelling justice. As if I ever actually do a full retelling of one of these stories justice. I'm sure it's all an insane rant that goes off on several different tangents, and I probably miss points in the plot and miss entire parts of the story. But I think what I'll do is kind of leave everyone here wanting to go and pick up the book. And I would encourage you to do that. Now, the one thing that I guess I don't like about this book, and we'll get that out of the way, and I typically don't like to talk about things I don't like, is that it is so big. It's so terribly big. I want a book that I can put into my pocket. That's what I want. That's the perfect size book for me. And one of the reasons is I do eventually want to have all of these Star Trek books, and I'd like to have them right here on this shelf next to me. And if they're all this big, logistically, it's just not going to happen. There's just not enough room up there. So, make the books littler for me, please. They're not going to do that, though, because they can sell this big book for $28.99, and that's just the way of the world. But for what it's worth, I would recommend that you do read this book. You can probably get it at the library if you don't want to pay $28.99 for it. But it is an excellent kind of segue between seasons 2 and 3 of Strange New Worlds. So if you're a fan of the show and you kind of want to just have something to bridge that gap, this kind of does that. It gives you a little bit of an adventure that they go on there, and it gives, I guess, a lot more kind of, history on Pike. You get a little bit of a kind of a tragedy that happened in his past. You get to see more of the drive of La'an and kind of how driven her drive is. I'm a genius here. Anyway, let's go over some of the points that I was making notes on here. And again, I didn't do the greatest job. Again, what I liked about the book, first off, other than just the very fine story, I want to point out is that they did include a dang-on diagram, and I absolutely love it when they include stuff like this in the book. This is fantastic. So you can actually kind of see and then envision in your head what this station looks like, how big it is, and then even in relation to the Enterprise, its size. So check that out. There's the Enterprise, and there is this big honking station right there. Boom. So, there you go. I think Ortegas's time as first officer was really good. I kind of liked all of that. It gave her character a time to shine that is lacking in the show, right? because they only do 10 episodes a season, so they don't have time to give people as much good character development as they should, right? And it's just a product of this day this day and age in TV producing, right? That's what they're going to do. They're going to make that many episodes. But when you have a book like this, it can give that character more depth, and it definitely does that here with Ortegas, Pike, Ba'an, even Spock to some extent. So a lot of very fun stuff there. And again, just the whole kind of sci-fi, scientific aspect of the thing as well too. And I'm not going to get into the actual what the mystery is, because it's really good. And I was starting to kind of like not totally piece it together, but feel it out, as the story was going along. So that was good. And then when the big reveal came, I was like, oh, right? I was able to do one of those things. So that's always fun. So he did a great job with that. Just a very fun read. And again, it gives you, if you're looking for more, which I think everybody who enjoys Strange New Worlds probably feels the same way as I do. It's basically like, this is really good. These characters are excellent. Let's get some more in-depth on each of them, right? That's what we're looking for. So that's what you get to do with a book. So how many of these Strange New Worlds books have there been? This is, I think, the third. Right, yeah, there's been the High Country. That was... Oh my god, I can't read that from here. Does it say John Jackson Miller? We'll say that. Una McCormick wrote Asylum. And then this Ring of Fire here by David Mack was excellent. So, like I said, they're not doing as much Trek literature, but what they are putting out is fun and, just adds to what they got out there. So, go ahead and read it, right? Read it and then come back and you can listen to me talk about it. And then leave some comments down below, and then I'll comment back. And we'll talk about this book together, and it will be fun, right? Because talking about Star Trek books and episodes and movies and toys and games and cards and fan films is really fun. So anyway, thanks for hanging out and listening, my friends. As always, live long. Here we are. Well, live long and prosper, and we will see you all in the next one. Have a good night.